AI, what's the global plan? This topic is quite um, a big one because we're approaching technology as an oracle to give us answers how we move forward. But to start discussing that part, we need to understand what's our current state. And I would like to invite to our digital stage, Helene. Hello, thank you for joining. I am very, very excited to hear your story and share your story with our Women in AI community, which you're a member of.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving Women in AI, so I'm a big supporter of it.
Thank you. And I love actually your mission statement, at least what is written on your LinkedIn page. Unleashing beasts in women? How do you do that? Please share your story. What is it about?
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Even, all the panelists, really interesting stories, and hearing like frontline and big corporate, what everyone is doing is really impressive. Thanks, Dr. Ross, for what you're doing. Yeah, my background, so I studied mathematics and financial risk. I was a quant in a hedge fund and then a management consultant to Fortune 500 companies. My big client was Fannie Mae in DC on how to optimize internal risk models using AI. So very much on the data science side. And on the side of that, I've always been doing sports. I was training and swimming when I was younger, and then I was a rugby player. And I went then into endurance sports, running 100 kilometers, ultra marathons, ice swimming, and triathlons. And what I realized very quickly in sports is that we have huge amount of data sets as individuals, but we understand really, really little about our bodies. Whereas when I was seeing in my professional world, using all these data sets to take smart investment decisions, I saw a decorrelation between human bodies and data and what we were doing in other worlds of data. And so I brought back that together with WILD.AI. And as we were building it, we started realizing that women had very different type of input data. So we created an app helping primarily women who were doing sports train, fuel, recover based on the menstrual cycle. But we were seeing different profiles. So a woman who would have a menstrual cycle, another woman who wouldn't, and we couldn't understand why she didn't. Is it she had amenorrhea or she's in perimenopause? And as we were seeing all these different profiles, we started to see that women are not these linear bodies as men are. But although we have very different bodies, we actually are treated like men, and worse than that, 80% of the medical research is still done on male mice, and then expanded to women. The reason being that female are often deemed complicated in terms of underlying data sets. But today in the world where we can run really smart algorithms with extremely high computing powers, it's not okay to be limited by the fact that just a variating body is too complex to analyze it. So that's the underlying reason we created WILD.AI, and now it's basically helping women understand their body and what they can do. And to give you some examples, the female body goes through these big life stages. So if you are 22, young girl taking a pill, you have not the same body than a 47-year-old going in perimenopause. And throughout 40 years, when we have menstrual cycles, so it's like 500 menstrual cycles, you have permanent variations in your body. So before periods, we might be bloated, but you can do things around that. So you can take electrolytes and increase hydration because we basically need that to fuel the body. At ovulation time, the female body opens up to get pregnant, so we have more ACL injuries. Again, we can do things around that. Before ovulation, we metabolize carbs very well, not so much after ovulation. So it's really important to, like, the things like we've been accepting living with pains and permanent instabilities forever, basically, because the messaging we've heard is we are moody and bitchy and just deal with it. But the reality is that there are things, very simple things that you can do around nutrition, training, recovery to alleviate those symptoms. So that's the background of the first product that we're creating, which is this app. But then as we are building this, we are hitting a wall, which is we want to input more data. So we're taking data now from wearables and manually putting it in the app, but we want to be able to have more data sets. And we also want to be able to have the world, so all products, services, to be able to understand what is a woman. So to give you an example, this is an Oura Ring, which is a sleep device, and it tells me my resting heart rate and heart variability out of the roof, so I'm going to get sick. but the reality is just my underlying normal variations as a woman. So this product is actually wrong for me as a woman, but that's also true when you look at the pharmaceutical world or the insurance world. Like the models are actually wrong. So how can we enable them to add the layer of understanding of what is a woman? And so to do that, we're creating an API to share the knowledge, not the data. And to come back to Eve's point on data privacy, the right way to do that is not with all data going into pharmas or insurers, which is what historically a lot of companies have done, but create a protocol where we can share knowledge. So what is a woman? So a woman at 52, her profile, exposure to cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis is changing. So how can that knowledge be implemented in models? And that is like, if we create a federated knowledge protocol, you have these layer, which is highly secured way to collaborate in terms of knowledge from different parties. And then we can actually collaborate and really advance research really well. And so we're working on these ideas, hopefully to work with that with companies like OpenMind, who are pioneers in that sector.
If I may ask you a question, this is brilliant what you're working on. It's super exciting. But is it applicable only to Ironman athletes, or every girl, woman can use your technology?
No, so we're starting with women who have data, so like who have wearables and who were historically training for, like, for instance, the half marathon. So not necessarily like the high end of sports, but now, which is interesting with COVID, is that there's a normalization of activities in sports. So it used to be quite segmented. So if you were doing football or soccer, you were very different profile than someone who was a runner. Today, because everyone has more or less access to the same type of sports, so like indoors training, a little bit running, things like that, we can actually serve all women who are doing sports. We still start with women who do sports, but the reason is that they have more data, and we use those data sets to build the profiles, and then we extend to the world. So what is really exciting with what we're building is that our product, the app, can serve, like, our mission is to serve 1 million women by 2023. But what is really exciting is the API actually enables us to serve all women in the world. So today, all women have been ignored. Basically, when you say a product is for men and women, is actually not true. The products have been meant for men. So so down the line, our aim is really to shift entirely, like, who's the Tesla of health and female health, and that's what we want to be. We want to shift an industry from something that is really basically monogamous on men, and to shift that into a dual thing which takes into account both genders.
And with COVID crisis going on, is there any way that you participate in the whole movement supporting the health? If we zoom in on that part,
Yeah.
with
So what is interesting now is so we were working with women who were doing sports, specifically training for an event, because they have data and they were very inclined to train on a daily basis. But now, as women are indoors and all events are cancelled, etc., what is really interesting is we also see a shift in mentality. So they were training for an event, and those were the women who were really the most aware on preventative approach. But now everyone suddenly understands that you cannot solve things with a pill and a doctor. So everyone is going towards a preventative research approach. So what can I do today to build a very strong underlying immune system? So if I do have COVID, I am better built to attack it well. So we also have a shift in mentalities, which is really interesting. We see a big shift in the industry. And to come back to what Laura was presenting, like, what are the shifts in industry? Like, we have basically a cut through adoption of digital health and remote coaching. People were a bit like reticent possibly to try out this kind of product, but right now basically they don't have the choice. It was not necessarily online first. Now it is online first. So suddenly we have this massive shift, and specifically for us, so we are involved in a project to advance COVID, so like specifically on our technology, together with Stanford and some of the leaders, MIT, etc. I can send you the link of what we are involved in, and if anyone wants to be involved, we can look into that. And the reason is that a lot of these initiatives now want to collaborate with data, but one really big risk today, and we were having this conversation, Eve, where we couldn't stop talking, was it's really exciting in a way that crisis cut through the time needed for innovation. And I mean, it is like similar to war. So often when you have wars and crises happening, this is where you have a lot of innovation, because you don't have time basically to go through all the hierarchical protocols, which is in a sense great, but in another sense is actually opened up to a big risk of abuses. And to give you some examples, if you are looking at a global coalition who's trying to do research, there's a big risk that if you are, for instance, changing the access of what a corporate may have on your phone, it's not very difficult to change the access and suddenly be able to track through your screen of your phone your pulse, which means that they can track actual people who might have COVID, which in a way is really good, because you can localize COVID patients, which is what in China they've done, etc. In Hong Kong, they're tagging people. But it also means that that's for today put on the reason that it's for COVID, but actually that sets precedents, and it's very rare that you can go backwards on precedent. So if you're setting that as a rule, like, it's very unlikely that it will change afterwards, which opens to massive amount of data privacy issues. That's why creating a protocol now, which is based, for instance, on federated learning, which is what we're doing, is important, because it still enables really innovation very quickly, very rapidly, which is incredible and very much needed, but in a very secured and ethical way.
Thanks so much. And all the discussion about 5G and the corona trackers and recuperation in the blood. It's another topic to discuss, but it's a lot that goes on right now. Thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for opening the opportunity for another speaker to step in, because you addressed the span of innovations happening due to the war pandemic times.
I would like to say that life is tough, but you are tough too. And I think it's weird moments, and unfortunately there is sickness and there is also death, but there's also like this time which is quite unprecedented in a way that it's an opportunity to halt and to recalibrate what we were thinking. And that doesn't mean overproducing and like a lot of people are like getting into execution mode, but it's also just reassessing what is important for us in life, like who do we want to be close to, our family, our friends, what is important for us. And it's a beautiful opportunity. So I think that we can take that as a gift, as hard as it is. And I think like finding purpose in helping people around us is something that is definitely helpful. Like we have a small community around us, we're shopping for each other, etc. And it's I don't think there will be a coming back to normal, and I hope actually they won't, because I think there were a lot of things that were wrong, but I think it's possibly quite beautiful.